Hi there, I'm Marin. My sister cut me off in front of our whole family at Christmas dinner. Smiles, wine, and then silence when she said, "We voted. You're out." But that wasn't the worst part. The worst was realizing it was all rehearsed, from the betrayal, to the fake signatures, to the lies that rewrote our family history. Have you ever been pushed out by your own blood, without warning, without truth? What would you do if your family not only erased you, but trained your niece to cry on cue just to keep their secrets safe? What time are you listening to this? Where are you watching from? Drop a comment. I want to hear your story. And if you've ever felt betrayed by the ones closest to you, type yes in the comments. Let's see how many of us are out here finding our own truth. The cold didn't bother me as much as the silence. Asheville had dipped just below freezing, but the quiet hum of Christmas lights and muffled laughter from inside Lorna's house made me hesitate on the front porch longer than I should have. I gripped the wine bottle tighter, dark red ribbon perfectly curled, then smiled as if I still believed this year would be different. Inside, warmth met me like a stage light. Flickering candles, cinnamon scents, a tree trimmed in glass ornaments. Everyone looked the part. Lorna greeted me with her trademark air kiss, too crisp to feel real. I scanned the room. No one asked about my new position at the firm. No one even made space near the fire. They kept me at the fringe, just polite enough to avoid suspicion. Dinner was polished, choreographed. The table set for 12, my name card pushed to the farthest end, near the drafty window. I poured wine for myself and caught my mother glancing away. Dad, as always, said little, but Lorna filled the space, her voice rising over carols, her stories growing louder with every pour of Pinot. She laughed too easily. My chest tightened with every empty gesture passed around the table like side dishes no one truly enjoyed. Then she stood. Lorna tapped her spoon to her glass. "Before dessert," she began, "we need to address something as a family." The chatter dimmed. This wasn't easy, but it was unanimous. I stopped chewing. She looked right at me. "We voted, and you're out." It landed with a thud, not yelled, not whispered, just clean, like slicing bread. My fork clattered against the plate. Mom shifted uncomfortably. My cousin Dana stared at her lap. My brother avoided eye contact, and yet not one of them looked surprised. Nods followed. Quiet ones. Apologetic in posture, but still nods. I couldn't speak. The room stretched, each second thicker than the last. I couldn't even ask out of what, because I knew. Out of the family group chats, out of Grandma's house come spring, out of decisions, out of belonging. I stood up. No one stopped me. The air outside burned colder now. Frost coated the lawn in delicate patterns I might have once admired. My boots cracked the grass with every step. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I memorized their faces, their cowardice disguised as civility. My breath curled in front of me like smoke. Then it hit me. Weeks ago, I'd asked Mom about the family gift fund. She'd deflected. "Ask your sister, she's handling things now." I thought it was forgetfulness. Now I knew better. Back inside, near her chair, I'd glimpsed a manila envelope, partially hidden under the sideboard. The corner of a form peeked out, one I knew too well from estate meetings, documents of shared ownership, powers of attorney, trust allocations. My mother's signature was there, or at least a version of it. They'd removed me, legally, quietly, efficiently, and forged her consent to do it. I clenched my jaw so tight it ached. My hands trembled, but not from cold, from the weight of realizing I hadn't been cut off in a moment. I'd been erased over time, bit by bit, like background noise slowly fading. My phone buzzed. I nearly ignored it, but something made me look. A voicemail, from a blocked number. I pressed play. A woman's voice, urgent, shaky. "It's about the trust. We need to talk. Your name came up." They thought they cut me off. What they really did was set me free, with witnesses. The snow was still crusted along the window ledge outside my apartment. The silence inside stretched long and heavy, a vacuum where warmth should have lived. I hadn't received a single message since Christmas night. No apologies, no explanations, Not even the polite excuses people give to justify betrayal. My phone, for once, was just an object. No comfort, no noise, just cold glass in my palm. I stared at the cabinet where I kept old estate files. I hadn't touched them in months, but something in me, call it intuition or a bitter itch, drove me to unlock it. My fingers trembled as I opened the folder labeled Family Trust, Annual Reports. Somewhere deep inside, I still hoped I'd been wrong. But I hadn't. The numbers didn't lie. The withdrawals began 18 months ago, small at first, then growing bolder. 10,000 here, another 15 the month after. Each transaction stamped with my authorization code. I blinked. Checked again. I hadn't touched this fund since our mother's health scare last year. Then I found the email logs. They'd been forwarded from my account to a hidden folder marked Archived 122. Someone had been quietly diverting updates, suppressing notifications. I felt my throat tighten as the realization crawled in. Lorna, only someone with admin-level access, only someone who'd watched me type my passcode. Years of joint holidays, shared devices, the illusion of trust, used like tools against me. The final proof came in the form of a PDF from the fund's attorney. Per your request, reimbursement was processed to Lorna Wells Consulting, LLC. Attached was a signature image, mine, but warped, slightly pixelated, as if copied from an older document and pasted in haste. She hadn't just removed me from the table, she'd been siphoning from my name, rewriting the financial history while smiling at Sunday brunch. I sat in stunned stillness, heart pounding in my ears. It wasn't about the money, not really. It was the precision, the patience. This wasn't an impulsive swipe, it was methodical erosion. She'd made me irrelevant long before that Christmas declaration. 16 years ago, I'd stood in front of a college board, nervously presenting the same family trust documents to apply for a housing loan. Lorna had helped me prepare the file. She'd smiled then, too. I printed everything, each transaction, each redirected email, each note from the attorney. I wasn't sure yet what I'd do with it, but I knew this time I wouldn't walk away. The next morning, I called the bank's audit department. Discrepancy investigation, I said. Quiet, internal. They didn't ask many questions. That was a comfort and a warning. I hung up and stared at the screen where my sister's name, her company, was embedded in line after line of numbers like a virus. Then came the text. If you're snooping around, Lorna wrote, be careful what you find. I didn't reply. You stripped my name from the trust. Now I'll strip the illusion from yours. The hotel's entrance was too polished, too pristine, like a smile hiding rotted teeth. I stepped into the warmth of the lobby, my coat still dusted with the frost of early January. The concierge barely looked up, but I wasn't here for him. I was here for answers. 2 days of digging had led me here. Lorna's so-called wellness retreats weren't spa weekends or grief counseling sessions like she told the family. With the help of an old friend who now managed hotel security, I'd been given quiet access to surveillance logs, names, rooms, dates, patterns. There it was again, Lena W., booked under Wellness in Winter LLC, always checked into the same suite Lorna used, same dates, overlapping by hours, sometimes days. Front desk noted they always ordered a single breakfast, 2 lattes, no record of separate keys. The staff even joked that they were that cute married couple who tip well. I sat in the cafe off the lobby, waiting. I knew her face, sleek hair, careful makeup, neutral expression with a hint of danger behind the eyes. She stepped through the revolving doors with a scarf wrapped high and tight. I stood, offered a practiced smile. Lena, right? I'm Marin. Her eyes flicked over me, calculating. Oh, you're his sister. Then, too late, her features stiffened. Her sister, I corrected, my voice low but firm. You must have been tired, easy to mix things up. She sat without being invited. Whatever you think you know, you don't. Then help me understand. Were those wellness retreats just massages and wine? Lena leaned forward slightly. You don't want to dig too far. Trust me, some foundations are better left untouched. 16 years ago, I'd stumbled on a Polaroid in Lorna's drawer. Two women at a vineyard, arms wrapped, expressions careless and free. She'd ripped the picture in half and told me to forget it. That memory burned hotter now. That night, a manila envelope sat wedged in my doorframe. Inside, crisp legal paper with Lena's name at the top and a Manhattan-based law firm at the bottom. A cease and desist. The letter accused me of stalking, defamatory speech, unlawful investigation. Should this behavior continue, it read, we will pursue all available remedies. I crumpled it, then smoothed it out again. It wasn't fear I felt. It was insult. They thought I'd scare easy. At 2:14 a.m., I uploaded redacted hotel logs and metadata screenshots to a small but relentless legal blog I'd followed for years, one that loved nothing more than exposing hypocrisy under silk curtains. By mid-morning, my phone was vibrating across the kitchen counter. You've gone too far, Lorna hissed through clenched teeth. Whatever this little crusade is, stop. Now. I haven't even started, I replied. You built your empire on lies. I'm just showing the foundation cracks. She hung up. No goodbye. I stared at the phone, breath shallow, pulse steady. Let them try to silence me. Truth has a way of screaming through locked doors. The call came just after sunrise, slicing through my half-sleep like a blade. My old therapist's voice was tentative. Marin, I received a request for your records. It wasn't you, was it? Number it wasn't. By noon, the whispers had become a chorus. An aunt texted me a lukewarm check-in, laced with something else. I hope you're getting help, sweetie. We all want what's best for you. Help? I walked into the Sunday brunch with my spine stiff and my heartbeat a drum. The house was warm, the air sugared with cinnamon and deception. They greeted me like I was a returning war hero, subdued smiles, cautious hugs, coffee poured too quickly. I sat, waited. Then I heard it. She had episodes in college. Didn't she run out barefoot once? She was always sensitive. Poor thing never really recovered from losing that internship. I locked eyes with Lorna, who sipped her tea as if my name hadn't just been slandered like cheap gossip. 16 years ago, I had crumbled in a stairwell during finals week, sobbing into my sleeves. I told Lorna. She held me then. And now she'd twisted that moment of raw trust into ammunition. A cousin leaned over, cheeks flushed. You should see the group chat. Lorna's been sharing things. I asked to see it. There it was, screenshots, long threads, phrases like mental fragility and pattern of instability. All traced back to my sister's keyboard. She'd painted me as erratic, even dangerous. I stood slowly. My voice didn't tremble. You weaponize my pain like it's part of your story to tell. It's not. It never was. Lorna didn't flinch. People deserve to know who they're dealing with, Marin, especially if you're airing everyone else's dirty laundry. And you think burying me under lies protects you? I scanned the room. Every single one of you. Silent while she rewrote my mind. Why? Because it's easier to believe a story than to ask for truth? No one met my eyes, not even my mother. That night I sat in my apartment and hit record. This is Marin Elridge. I am of sound mind, capable, lucid, and no longer tolerating gaslight dressed as concern. I saved it to 3 cloud drives. Then I deleted every family contact except one, Odessa. She hadn't picked a side. Yet. The silence was almost peaceful until my phone lit up with a blocked number. I played the voicemail twice just to be sure I heard it right. A whisper. You should have kept quiet. I stared at the screen, jaw tight, fire building in my chest. They want to rewrite who I am. Too bad I learned to hold the pen. The text came at 9:42 p.m., just 3 words. Can we talk? I stared at the screen for a full minute before replying. Odessa never reached out without someone else's permission, usually Lorna's, but this wasn't a forwarded group message or a holiday platitude. It was just her. Raw. Unfiltered. We met at a local bookstore cafe the next afternoon. She sat at the farthest corner, tucked behind a half wall of travel books, eyes flitting toward the door every few minutes. Her coat was still zipped, hands clenched around a cup she hadn't touched. "I don't know what to believe anymore," she whispered, voice tight with guilt. "She said you were spiraling, that you were bitter, but none of this feels right." "She said that because it works," I said. "Smear the truth teller, and the lies get to stay clean." Odessa nodded, swallowing hard. "She's turning into someone I don't recognize." Later that week, we sat on her back porch, a half-drunk bottle of red between us, steam rising from our mugs like breath trying to escape. She opened up slowly, about years of being cornered, nudged, erased. She'd twist everything, make me feel like I was the one forgetting things, misunderstanding what was said. She made me doubt myself in front of my own daughter. She paused. "I just wanted stability for Chloe, a version of family. I didn't know the cost." "You don't have to choose me," I told her, "but you have to stop protecting what's destroying both of us." She stared at the trees bare against the gray February sky. "If this goes legal, I'll give you what I know, quietly. I have emails, conversations, stuff I saved. Just not for court. Not yet." "You think she'll let it stay quiet?" I asked. No answer. A few days later, I spotted them at the park, Odessa and Chloe near the swings. Our eyes met. She smiled, but it was thin, like a screen door barely holding back a storm. I remembered her custody battle 6 years ago. Lorna had whispered to the judge that Odessa had emotional regulation issues, that she wasn't fit for sole custody. She nearly lost everything then. "If I speak up," Odessa said when I approached, "she'll dig into me. She knows where all the cracks are." "And if you don't?" I asked. "She'll keep using your silence like a weapon." That night, I sat at my kitchen table, sifting through pages of notes, screenshots, statements. My case was forming, but none of it would matter if I stood alone. Odessa came by. No warning, no preamble. Just tears clinging to her lashes, and a voice that trembled with conviction. I won't stay silent again. I believed her. But the next morning, a courier dropped a manila envelope at my door. A formal letter from Lorna's attorney. "Ongoing harassment. Defamation. Cease all contact or face civil litigation." They were doubling down. But so was I. They wanted me gone. But now someone from their side is starting to see. The message came folded in a napkin, slid across the table by a waitress who didn't meet my eyes. I unfolded it. Just 5 words, scrawled in uneven handwriting. "He's ready to talk. Tonight." Clark chose a diner off I-26. It was the kind of place with sticky vinyl booths and a jukebox that hadn't worked since Clinton's first term. He sat near the back, nursing black coffee like it was penance. When I approached, he didn't stand. He looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. "I'm tired of being her cleanup crew," he said, voice low. "I've watched her burn people for sport. I should have spoken up years ago." I didn't speak. I let him purge. He slid a flash drive across the table. Bank transfers, messages. Her plan to make you look unstable? That was real. I found the drafts. "What made you change?" I finally asked. He looked at me. "Our son asked me if lying was ever okay if it helped the family." I heard her in his voice. 3 days later, the family gathered at Aunt Sylvia's for one of those passive-aggressive, let's be civil brunches. It was supposed to be about Grandma's estate planning, but everyone knew tension would be the main dish. Clark stood up before dessert, cleared his throat. "I have something to share," he said. Lorna looked up from her mimosa, a warning behind her smile. Clark didn't flinch. He pulled out printed pages, highlighting fund withdrawals, fake legal memos, and emails between Lorna and their family lawyer. "You told everyone Marin was unstable, but you never mentioned that you used her login credentials to drain the trust." Lorna's laugh was sharp. "Are you seriously doing this here? You think this proves anything?" But her voice cracked when he read out loud. "Make her look manic, pull old therapy notes if needed, frame it as concern." Murmurs rippled across the room. Odessa's face paled. A cousin looked down, ashamed. "You're pathetic," Lorna snapped. Clark turned to her. "I was, but not anymore." And then the silence that followed stretched like smoke. No defense, no more lies to spin fast enough. After the gathering, Odessa pulled me aside. Her hand was shaking as she squeezed mine. "It's working," she whispered. "They're listening." I nodded, but didn't smile. 16 years ago, I defended Lorna during a similar scene, when she turned on another cousin, accusing them of theft that turned out to be hers. I vouched for her, and I remembered the look of gratitude she wore, false and fleeting. That memory burned now, acid in my throat. The next morning, an unexpected email hit my inbox. No sender, no subject, just a file. vote_audio.mp3. I clicked play. Lorna's voice spilled through the speakers, smooth and smug. "We'll say it was unanimous." Everyone will nod. She's too shocked to argue. Besides, it's just Marin. It was a recording of the Christmas ambush, proof that the exile vote was staged, proof I wasn't imagining the malice. I stared at the waveform, the silence between each word sharper than the words themselves. Attached was a message. Some of us were always watching. We just stayed quiet, until now. The war she started was no longer hers to control. It started with a call that wasn't meant for me. "Hi, Mr. Howell, just confirming the final filing on the estate update," the voice chirped through my voicemail. "The new terms you approved last quarter, removing Marin and redirecting to Lorna's line. That's all squared now." The air left my lungs. I hadn't even known a conversation was happening, let alone one that ended with me being legally erased. I didn't call back. I drove. Clark met me at the curb outside my father's home. Stone steps, potted azaleas, that damn brass eagle knocker still gleaming like a relic from a time when everything felt fair. He didn't ask questions, just walked beside me like a witness. Dad opened the door, surprised but not startled. "This isn't a good time," he said, but stepped aside anyway. "Then I won't waste yours," I said. "Did you change your will?" He hesitated, just for a second. "Yes," he said. The word cracked like bone. "Why?" His eyes flicked toward the hallway, toward the den where Mom used to fold laundry, and Lorna now drank afternoon wine pretending it was tea. "Lorna said you no longer wanted involvement, that you were estranged." "She lied," I said. He didn't blink. "It seemed consistent with your behavior." I pulled out the consent form, one Lorna forged months ago, the one Clark helped me track. "Did this look like my signature to you?" He didn't answer. "You didn't call, you didn't check, you just let her write me out." "It wasn't malicious," he offered, voice flat. "You drifted. You left the family." "No," I said. "I was pushed, and you let it happen." 16 years ago, I'd made him a birthday card from paper scraps and glitter glue. "To the bravest man I know," I'd written. He'd kept it on his dresser for over a decade, tucked behind a framed photo of us fishing. Now it was gone, like I'd never existed. "I cooked for you when Mom couldn't get out of bed," I whispered. "I covered the mortgage for 3 months after the stroke. I gave up grad school to keep this family from sinking." He stared at the floor. "You made choices." "So did you," I said, and walked out before he could reclaim the silence. The sun outside was colder than I remembered. Clark offered to drive, but I needed the road to myself. The rage burned quiet, no yelling, no drama, just a steady, suffocating weight behind my ribs. That night, I sent the revised will to the rest of the family, Aunt Sylvia, Cousin Dean, even Lorna's mother-in-law. The message attached was simple. He wrote me out before I ever left. 10 minutes later, Odessa responded. He wrote me out too. I stared at the words, at what they didn't say. Not love, not protection. Just the fact that the blood running through our veins was no longer a bridge. It was a boundary. They didn't just erase my name, they erased my worth. But I was never just ink on paper. The USB came in a plain envelope. No note, no return address. Just that tiny, weightless device that would tilt the floor beneath all of us. I watched the footage alone in my kitchen, the monitor light flickering across the sink full of untouched dishes. Lorna's voice played first, cooing, coaching. No, sweetheart, not like that. Real tears. Think of something sad. Think of Aunt Marin taking you away. Then Clark's voice, flat, instructive. If she cries during the hearing, we win. Odessa's daughter nodded, her cheeks flushed from effort. She sobbed once, dramatically. Lorna clapped like it was a recital. I watched it again. Then again. By the third replay, I couldn't unclench my fists. They'd turned a child's emotions into theater, and handed her a script that painted me as the villain. 2 days later, the courthouse echoed with a tension so thick it clung to the walls. The family had gathered under the pretense of civil mediation, but the looks, the silence, told the truth. This wasn't a peace talk. It was a reckoning. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. I wheeled in a cart with a laptop and hooked it to the courtroom monitor. A few clicks, a black screen, then the footage played. First the setup, then the rehearsal, then the line that gutted the air. If you want Auntie to leave us alone, you have to cry like we practiced. No one breathed. Lorna reached to unplug the screen, but Clark beat her to it, gripping her wrist mid-motion. Don't, he said. You made this bed. Lie in it. Odessa sat frozen, lips trembling. Her daughter curled inward in her seat, eyes wide, tears forming for real now, not for performance, not for reward. I didn't mean for it to go that far, Lorna finally muttered, but the lie had nowhere left to hide. You taught her to lie, Clark said, his voice cracking. You taught all of us to pretend. I took the floor, calm, controlled. This isn't about vengeance, it's about closure, and protecting what's left from you. I passed forward the updated legal forms, my reinstatement in the trust, the revocation of Lorna's power of attorney over my father, the motion to reopen his consent on the revised will. The judge nodded without a word. The silence in the room felt earned this time. I didn't linger. I stood, collected my things, and left without turning back. Let them stew in the lies they'd baked. Outside, the cold bit at my lungs. But it was the kind of cold that woke you up, not the kind that broke you. Odessa caught up with me on the courthouse steps, her makeup streaked with mascara and grief. You were right, she whispered. I just didn't want it to be true. Her daughter stood behind her, hesitant. I knelt. You don't have to act for anyone anymore, I said gently. The girl nodded. Just once. They taught her to perform grief. I taught her how to end the show. The name change paperwork came back faster than I expected. A single sheet of legal affirmation, stamped and impersonal, yet it felt like emancipation. I signed it slowly, deliberately, the surname that had followed me like a stain, gone. I wasn't running from the past. I was rewriting the ending. In my new apartment, sunlight touched the hardwood floor like a quiet blessing. I moved without caution, no longer afraid someone would show up to reclaim my peace. On the windowsill, I placed a photo of my mother, just her and me before everything broke. Her eyes had that soft, unfiltered joy only mothers wear when no one's watching. There was no fanfare, no dramatic goodbye. Just a quiet unraveling of shared utilities, names on bank accounts, legal links that once bound me in silence. I turned off my phone for 3 days and sat with the quiet. It didn't scare me anymore. I wrote 3 emails I never planned to send, one to my father, detailing the slow erosion of trust and the moments I still missed him, one to Lorna, void of accusation, full of absence, and one to Odessa, half a thank you, half a scar. Writing them hurt. Not writing them felt worse. Then, on a Thursday I hadn't marked for anything, Odessa arrived. No warning. Her daughter in tow, a little taller, her eyes no longer darting with the same anxious rhythm. Odessa handed me something wrapped in faded yellow fabric. The journal I gave her when we were kids. You were the only one who saw me, she said, voice breaking, even when I couldn't look at myself. We cried, not from pain, but from the weight of time and what it had taken from us. Her daughter stood by, watching quietly, like she understood something neither of us had said aloud. Weeks later, I found myself at a community theater, the kind with squeaky folding chairs and programs printed on recycled paper. I sat in the back, alone, surrounded by strangers. A group of children stumbled through a fairy tale play, lines fumbled, costumes askew. One girl, with dark curls and a crooked crown, reminded me of Odessa's daughter, but she wasn't pretending. She was free, and I smiled, not a performative smile, not the tight, polite kind you give relatives across tense dinner tables. This one rose from somewhere softer. 16 years ago, I would have begged for someone to explain how family can turn on you and still sleep at night. Now, I don't need an answer. I've lived the question. They never apologized, and maybe they never will. But I learned something stronger than forgiveness. I learned how to live without needing it. Not all ghosts haunt houses. Some haunt your silence. And I've finally made peace with the quiet. Sometimes losing your place in someone else's story is the first step to writing your own. Looking back, I don't regret walking away. I regret how long I tried to stay, for their comfort, not my peace. Family isn't just blood, it's respect, truth, and choice. I chose myself. If you've ever been cast as the villain in someone else's lie, remember, silence doesn't make you weak. Speaking up doesn't make you cruel. It makes you free. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved for the sake of your sanity? Or do you believe forgiveness is still possible even without an apology? Drop a comment below. Let's talk. If this video touched something in you, type 1 in the comments or tell me where you're watching from. And if it didn't sit right, I'm open. Tell me why and what you'd do differently. If you found value here, please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss the next story. Healing isn't a straight path, but together we walk it stronger.